If you go and you just open up Twitter, it's just one stream of all the people you follow. And there's obviously some algorithm about who shows up and whatnot. But if you're not actually carving out specific columns for certain people or certain themes or keywords or hashtags, it'll be a loss. Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renée Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. If you're tuning in the morning, good morning. It's actually 5:30 on a Sunday morning because we are leaving to go to Boston today. I have just my youngest, Noah, with me. My husband, Dan, brought our oldest to Chicago for the weekend because he was speaking at an event. We head out to Boston because it's my husband's SaaS Academy intensive. I'm actually going to pop on stage really quickly to talk about PR. And then we head over to Croatia for a red eye, and I'm traveling solo with the boys. So that'll be interesting. But anyway, all this to say is that if you're tuning in and I sound tired, it's because I just rolled out of bed. And I think my next solo episode is about how to prepare for our time away. I have been diligently the last 2 weeks just preparing for everything so that our trip can be fully offline in the sense of I'm not having any meetings or phone calls, but I'll be checking emails and doing client work. But the cool thing about that is that I've prepared myself ahead of time. And I'll talk about that in another episode. But for today, I want to talk about some of the tools that I use for PR. If you've never done public relations before, it can be very overwhelming because you don't know where to start. The question I get all the time, I actually spoke at my friend Amy Cohen's event this past Friday about this to a room full of women that have never done their own PR. And the question they always ask is, where do I begin? And it's variable. It depends on where you are in your business, if you're launching, if you're just setting things up because maybe a book's coming out in 6 months, or you want to go on a podcast tour. But the way I say where you start is that you have to set up your business goals. Your business goals from a PR perspective is, what are you trying to achieve from this? Is it increase credibility, increase authority, get more influence, get more followers, get in big publications because you want to spread the word about what it is you're doing, or maybe it's all of the above. Regardless of the objective, regardless of your goal, I want to leave you with some tools that some are free, some are cheap, some are expensive, but I'm going to really focus on the cheap and free tools that you can use to actually leverage PR on a daily basis as you would for anything marketing-wise. So I say that because I genuinely believe that PR is the mother of all marketing, meaning that everything else we do to promote our businesses kind of falls under the silo of public relations because it's really about relationship building. It's a constant. For me, it's a constant to source new people to have on my show. I'm always looking for unique guests, and how I do that is build those relationships. And so this is something that you need to be doing, especially if you're going to make PR part of your weekly initiatives for marketing. So let's kick things off. This is really a quick download of some of the tools that I've used, even in the days when I had my agency. I'm a proponent for finding the most cost-efficient way of setting things up. Now, I've used the expensive tools before, and there's no shame. They're actually great, but some of them are just way too bulky for what you need as being a small business owner. Expensive tools include Decision, Prowly, maybe even Just Reach Out. Just Reach Out, I think, is about like $200 or $300 a month last time I checked. And these tools are great because they're kind of the all-in-one portal for anything you do with PR. That is, you can go and find journalists in there. You can find opportunities. You can pitch right from the platform and you can see who's opened emails, who's followed up. But let me tell you, I'm going to leave you with some tools today that allow you to kind of stitch that together and not have to pay thousands of dollars a year. Some of these things are free. Some of them are cheap, $5, $10 a month, but they're worth it. So I've kind of categorized them in the themes of what it means to actually do PR. So there's the setup and preparation, the crafting your pitch, finding journalists, sourcing new media ops, tracking emails, and then the promotion of your stuff. So first off is setup and preparation. I'm sure you're a Google Suites user, at least I hope so, because this is probably the best tool for anything related to running a business. And why I love it is because of all the years I've ever done PR, I've always come back to Google Spreadsheet as our main dashboard for everything that we're doing. And this allows us to share it across client. It's allowed us to share us with the team internally and externally because most people understand this tool. Most people use it in business. So there's no onboarding required. Now you can use things like Trello and Notion and Asana and other project management systems. That's great. I've always come back to this. And now we're actually kind of looking at Airtable, maybe Notion for some other media list stuff. But for now, Google Suites is what we use. Our media kit's in there. Anytime we do a VIP day, which is now called the Authority Booster Intensive. Anytime I do an intensive with a client, the first thing I ask them to do is to send me 2 Google folders. One is your PR folder and one is your Media Kit folder. So Media Kit, you can create a folder in Google that allows you to share it to have view-only access. So if you're putting like your Media Kit together, I actually have free resources on my website. If you go to wewildwomen.com/freebies, there's a free do-it-yourself Media Kit. I suggest downloading it, check it out, because it tells you kind of how to put it together, but also what goes in it. So in your Media Kit, you're going to have things like product photos, maybe it's your book photos, headshots, team specs, testimonials, press releases, bios, questions to ask in the interview, all that stuff I teach you in those freebies. But the easiest way to do that outside of setting up a press page on your website is actually having a shareable Google folder. It is easy to do. There's big organizations do this too. Shopify is an example of a company that's gigantic that uses a Google folder to have a media kit. So no shame in going that way. Just think about it. What do you need to include in your media kit? And how easy can you share this with journalists and influencers, reporters that need that information to write about you, talk about you, or interview you? So that's a preparation. Another thing too is under preparation, I always look at like work back schedules. And I use Google for all of this. So work back schedule is essentially looking at what's happening in the next 12 months with PR. It's really important that you're looking that far out because a lot of big publications, big podcasts, they have lead times of 6 to 12 months. Like when I was helping my husband with his book, I started pitching hosts in August, and some of them weren't replying to me until February after his book had launched. And they're like, yeah, sorry, we're busy and we have a big lineup. We're not recording new episodes for another 6 months. So that's why you need to be prepared with PR. Start early and always just pick away at it. The initial onboarding is a lot. There's a lot to do and set up. But let me tell you, once you get the system running, it's a beautiful thing. So moving on to crafting your pitch. This is something I always say, do after you write your press release. Now, is a press release dead? I don't know. Some say yes, some say no. I use writing a press release as the most important activity in getting everything organized. And what I mean by this is when you take the time to write a press release, which could take hours, some people it takes a day, it forces you to kind of get organized with your bio. It forces you to get organized with what it is that you're trying to share. And so when you finalize your press release, whether or not you use it and you submit it on the wire or whatever, put it in your media kit, there's great tidbits and structure in there that you can use to write your pitch. All right, so crafting your pitch. Again, Google Doc, open it up and start writing. Now, I have, I think in one of the freebies I share, I kind of teach you how to put together a pitch. But this is everything I'm talking about is stuff that I easily set up for you with no sweat. The step-by-step process, custom everything for your Authority Booster Intensive, which is the VIP day. So if you're interested in that, go to wewildwomen.com/VIP day. And all this stuff I set up for you. So you don't have to worry about understanding what tools to use when and whatnot. So in crafting your pitch, start drafting it in a Google Doc. So say you finalized the email pitch, you love it. Now, the most important thing after you're done writing the draft is to write your headline. I use a tool called Headline Analyzer by CoSchedule. It allows you to put in your headline and to press, rate. I don't even know what the button says. Essentially, it rates your headline based on how good it is out of 100. And so our rule is, if it's 80 or above, it's probably decent. And how do we come up with these headline ideas? Well, we use ChatGPT. So when we have a version of a headline we like, we put it into ChatGPT. And here's kind of the command that I use. I actually did just one this morning. I go, write me 3 different podcast titles. This is for podcasts. Write me 3 different podcast title ideas around the topic, quote, the important tools you need to use to win at PR, quote. That is for this episode. And it came up with 3. I didn't like all 3, but I liked pieces of them. And I stitched something together through a couple of variations into Headline Analyzer for free. And it popped out the heading for this podcast, which it's important. You have your keywords sprinkled throughout your headline, keywords sprinkled throughout your pitch. I use Google templates as well. So going back one step, actually, once you're done writing the draft for your pitch, I always run things through Grammarly. So Grammarly is about $12 to $30 a month, depending if you're paying monthly or annually. I say get it no matter what, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of writing, because you can install the extension on your Google Chrome that allows you to run the Grammarly throughout. And essentially what it does is it helps you with your grammar and spelling and punctuation. They also have a really cool tool that allows you to look for plagiarism. So if you are using ChatGPT for a lot of stuff and not tweaking it, always run things through the plagiarism check to make sure that you're not stealing from somebody else, because that's a terrible thing to do. That's a big no-no. So Grammarly is huge. I use it for everything. I run every pitch, every document, everything through it, and it's been super helpful. So then once you're done crafting your email pitch, what you want to do next is throw it into a Google email template. Now, if you don't have templates enabled, then this is through Gmail. Here's how you do. Go to your inbox. The top, there's a little gear icon, which is settings. Click settings. Click see all settings, and then head over to the advanced tab along the top. The second thing down is called templates. You want to make sure you enable this. So what this allows you to do, which is like the quick and dirty, probably one of my most favorite tools, is it allows you to write templates that you can use again and again so that it doesn't show any wingdings, or, if you cut and paste copy into an email, it shows up purple when you send it. It takes away all that to maintain the original formatting. And when you start crafting pitches, typically what I do is I throw the bare bones of the pitch, that the thing that I need to share with everybody that I'm pitching, into a template. And then I can sprinkle it with all the custom personalization, like the name, and then your intro paragraph, which is often just a personalized intro. So Google Templates is a huge tool we use for all of our pitching. Okay, so that's crafting your pitch. Next up is finding journalists. So people are like, great, Renée, I have all this set up. Now who am I pitching? Couple things. First of all is you need to know who you're pitching, in what industry, and why. And you need to know that the content you're pitching is the journalist's beat. So a journalist's beat is the content that they write about the most. I always use this joke. You're not going to pitch the editor of a auto trader magazine that really focuses on refurbishing old Ford trucks your new breast pump, because that's not his beat. His beat is about writing about refurbished old Ford trucks. So Nowadays, there are so many freelance writers and freelance journalists out there. So how do you find these people? It's really tough. I know. There's a couple things that we do to really understand who we should be talking to. Well, first of all, is if you go to any of your websites, any of the websites of like, let's say Martha Stewart Living, and you find out the other versions of Martha Stewart Living, and I'll talk about this in the next step, it'll show up the competition for Martha Stewart Living. You want to really research in the publications you want to get into the keywords that somebody's writing about. Now, pay attention to when was the last time the person wrote about this article, because anything over a year old, they might not be writing about that anymore. One of my clients and friends, Lindsay, she used to be a top dating blogger in New York, and she was writing about this content like 8 or 9 years ago, if I recall. And she still gets pitched about that content, even though she's now married, is a mother, and doesn't write about that stuff at all anymore. So just make sure that who you're pitching writes about the content. So some tools that I use, especially when you find who these people are, these are some free to use extensions on Google Chrome. One is called snov.io. I think that's how you pronounce it, snov.io. Another similar one is called hunter.io. These are extensions. So how you use these is you go to a person's website. So say you find a journalist and they have a private website. You go to their website and you press on the button in the extension. And essentially what it does is it crawls the website for all probable emails. And sometimes they don't have it, and that's fine. You have to find other methods to use it. But those two are great. And I think with both, you get like 30 free searches per month, and then you can pay for it after that. I just use different browsers or different accounts until I've reached my maximum. Another one to use is Rocket Reach. So Rocket Reach pulls up contact information if you're looking for email addresses. They also have a free version. It's also limited, but if you're only looking for a handful of contacts a month, that's amazing. A News Tip is another one that is pretty bare bones free, but then you can create an account and pay. I don't know what the pricing is exactly. I'm just looking at it now. Oh, this one's expensive. It's about $200 a month, but it allows you to create media lists. So it's a database of all the journalists. It allows you to create a media list within their database. It allows you to pitch from within the platform and set up alerts and reporting. So it's pretty awesome. I would recommend getting a tool like this or Prowly, Prowly, if you are launching and if you're doing a big campaign. So this is like, a 3 or 6 month campaign of which you're actively pitching because you have some important news, then by all means invest in these tools because it'll definitely help you save time and minimize your error. Okay, so next up is sourcing ops. So now you've found the people that you want to be reaching out to, but you want to find more because these people aren't necessarily talking about your specific industry or your specific thing all the time. So sourcing media ops, I use Harrow, Help a Reporter Out, and a similar one that's really focused in Australia and the UK is called Source Bottle. So how these work is you can go in and you can create a free account. You set yourself up as a source, and every day during the week, Monday through Friday with Harrow, you get about 3 emails, the morning, midday, and evening summary of queries that journalists have submitted. So essentially, if I'm a journalist and I'm writing about the best new iPhone cases, as an example, I need to find people, maybe these are like designers. The angle is I want to find the best iPhone case designers to get their input on what the trend is for 2023. I will submit a query on Harrow. And essentially how this works is it gets deployed across their platform and it gets into people's inbox if they are a subscriber to Harrow. And anyone can go in and pitch that journalist. But the cool thing about it is that they pitch right within the platform. So it's not like a direct email to them. So for me, as somebody who is a source for my clients and all my clients, is I just scan it. So I get those 3 emails a day. I scan it for keywords. I scan it for publications. And, probably about 2 to 3 relevant queries a week come in. But there's been some really big wins from these too. A lot of them aren't as great because I feel like journalists are kind of falling off of Harrow unless they need it out of desperation. But with that, There's a tool that's been making waves with journalists, and it's called Substack. Substack is like an email newsletter, it's a blog, it's a whatever for writers that can go in and they can set up, which is really cool. A lot of people use it as a blog and newsletter. You can give a little bit, like sprinkle some free content, and then you can throw up a paywall. And the journalists that I subscribe to, they charge about $80 or $90 a year. And mind you, I subscribe to a lot of them because this has been like kind of like the rich wins for me is these journalists write about the stuff that they're working on, whether it's like Mother's Day or Father's Day stuff. They're like, here's what I'm working on this week. If you happen to be the person or a source, please email me. You get their direct email address. You get to comment and like and engage with their content too, specifically on their Substack. So it's really personalized. It's custom, it's quaint, and it's an easy way to grow your relationship with journalists. And coming out with a blog post soon, the top journalists to follow on Substack. But all you have to do is go to Google like top fashion journalists on Substack to find out who they are. It also gives you a chance to know like what they're working on, if they're traveling, if they're offline, if there's anything kind of cool happening in their life. The next one is Twitter. I know a lot of people love it. Twitter, hate Twitter. They don't use Twitter. But it is actually an excellent tool because a lot of journalists love to hang out on Twitter. And I use a tool called TweetDeck. So TweetDeck allows you to create like custom columns. Because if you go and you just open up Twitter, it's just one stream of all the people you follow. And there's obviously some algorithm about who shows up and whatnot. But if you're not actually carving out specific columns for certain people or certain themes or keywords or hashtags, it'll be a loss. So TweetDeck allows you to organize in columns things like people that have mentioned me, specific journalists. I make lists in Twitter that allows me to have like just a column for journalists. Now I can just go in and kind of quickly browse anything that's happening today. Usually do that at the beginning of the day and closer to the end of the day, just to see what's going on. Another way to source media ops is Google Alerts. I highly recommend you set one up for your name, for your business name, your top 3 competitors, as well as the top 10 keywords in your industry. Have them sent to your inbox either on a daily summary or a weekly summary. But when it comes to, and journalists as well, when it comes to media ops, sometimes it's not always the best story that wins, but it's the first bestest story that wins. So going back to Haro, typically the ones that are relevant that get mentioned in the publications are the ones that reply to the Haro query first. So there's something about being the speed to reply. So yes, Google Alerts, make sure that you are subscribing to your name, business name, competitors. Essentially, you get an email with those alerts as they become available. And there's so many other reasons why this is important, of which we don't have time to talk about today. SimilarWeb. So SimilarWeb, like I mentioned in the last category, what I use it for is allows me to go in and find some like competitor websites. So say I wanted to look at other options for Martha Stewart Living, and I put in Martha Stewart Living, and then I click on, I think it's competition. It pulls up similar websites so that this allows you to discover maybe publications you've never heard of before or totally forgot about. Super helpful. Okay, next one, tracking emails. Like I said, you could use like a news tip or just reach out, Precision. There's a bunch of tools you can use, but Mailtrack.io is a Google Chrome extension, allows you to track emails, opens, clicks for about $5 a month. And I use it because it's awesome. I use it because the cadence and following up on pitches has really shifted over the past year. And I actually teach you all about that in my VIP day. All the stuff that I'm telling you right now gets integrated in a step-by-step format in your Authority Booster intensive day. And MailTrack is one of them. I teach you when to follow up after certain hours, or if they open it, or if they click it twice. Like there's a rhythm and a formula to this. I love it. I pay, I think, $5 a month. There is a free version. Unfortunately, with the free version is you can't remove the branding. So if you send an email, it'll show up at the bottom that it was sent with MailTrack. And this isn't new. It's been around for a while because actually the other day I went back to my inbox to look at some emails from, 2015. And I noticed that somebody I was communicating with was using this product. And I only recently started using this. So there's that. Now, finally, the last thing for promotion, which I don't know if it's something that people are still doing these days, but submitting your press release on the newswire. Here's why I think it's important to do if you have a big announcement. So a big announcement could be you've raised a round, you're publishing a book, you're launching a new product. Maybe you're a bigger organization and you're announcing a new executive position like a CEO, CFO, COO. I would consider big announcements to absolutely send a press release on the newswire. PR newswire is great because you can send press releases. You can buy a package, and I think it turns out to be like $50 a release. So essentially what happens is that your press release gets deployed on the wire, and anybody who's subscribed to that press release distribution platform can go in and pick it up. They can copy it verbatim on their website. Maybe they're interested in interviewing you, they'll reach out to you. So just make sure that when you create your press release, which I custom write for you as part of your Authority Booster Intensive, you put the right contact information at the bottom. So absolutely, press release on the wire if you're doing something big. It definitely helps with expanding the potential opportunity. So yes, I talk a lot about my VIP day, now called the Authority Booster Intensive. If you're interested in checking it out, I have a bunch of video testimonials. I'm like, love this work. I integrate all this stuff for you so you don't have to sweat about what to set up and when. It's at wewildwomen.com/VIP day. And last thing before I go, it'd mean the world to me if you could go and jump into iTunes or wherever you can leave a comment, or wherever you can leave a couple stars and a review. I would really appreciate that. So that gives me the chance to serve more women like you to help them grow and expand their business. So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.